guys, Alex from MUD.clayplay here. Not in Byron Bay at the moment, in Adelaide, well, Barossa Valley, in South Australia, doing my 2-week quarantine. What day am I on now? I don't know, 5? It's hard to say. Okie dokie, so I'm going to be doing some extra little ISOCLAYTION tutorials because I'm super bored. So, made myself a little coffee in the cute little ISOCLAYTION mug that I made. Take a look at that, very, very sweet with a loopy handle. And today we're actually going to be making some little trinket dishes. And the good thing about trinket dishes is you can kind of decorate them however you want to. And they're easy to make and they look great, and they're great Christmas presents as well, and just little gifts for people. So as per usual, I'll go through everything you need and then we'll get stuck in. So you may want a board, so you can just use any old breadboard. Wooden is great. You also are going to need your rolling pin. Now, we're probably not going to need all of these tools, but if you've got your toolkit or you've done some ISOCLAYTIONs before, you'll know what you're using. So I'm going to pop that one away, but this one, we're not really going to need this most probably for joining today, unless you do want to add some handles on your little dishes, but the curvature here allows us to join bodies of clay together. This section you can use for cutting. You can also use it to join smaller portions of clay together, just to get into those little spots. This guy here we will use for trimming. So this is your trimming tool, but also your decorating tool. So we can do little grooves and we can create some cute little texture with the edge there, which will be great. And this guy here is your needle. So this is going to be perfect for scoring. Again, we're not going to be doing heaps of scoring today, but this is your scoring tool. Scoring is just when you're making a porous surface on a body of clay to lock those two bodies of clay together. This is your cutting tool as well, so this is perfect for cutting. If you don't have tools and you're still wanting to do this ISOCLAYTION, you can just go to the kitchen and grab out a knife, a fork and a spoon, and that will allow you a pretty full range for what we're wanting to do. If you do want to grab a kit, just head to our website, www.mud.clayplay.com. Is that it? Surely. And that will allow you to access to the toolkits. I've just restocked everything, so you should be good to go. Sweet, let's get started. You are going to need your clay as well, obviously. So I'm actually going to be working on a cloth today. That's one thing I didn't tell you to get. Grab a cloth just so you can do your rolling out, and I would recommend it being a bit flatter than what I have here, only because when you're rolling things out it can get a little bit tough if you've got creases in the sheet, because those creases will transfer into the clay. So I probably should have cut my clay before actually doing this, but you know, I'm unorganized, so great. So I'm just going to grab a small portion of clay to begin with, because I'm only going to be making small trinket dishes at the moment. So I've just grabbed a bit of a handful. If you have a ball of clay that you have purchased, a large ball, just over 1 kilo, then I would just use that and roll it all out. So to start with, you just want to kind of bang down your clay, especially if you've got a large ball. There's no use in trying to just get in there with your rolling pin if it's really quite tall. So then the trick with rolling out your clay is not to put too much weight into it. It can be good to stand up when you're doing this because you do need to put a bit of weight into it, but if you put too much when you roll towards the edges, it is going to dip down. What we're looking to achieve is just a sheet of clay, basically. So it depends on how thick you actually want your dishes to be. I want mine to be quite thin because I really like that look. So I'm going to be doing less than 1/2 centimetre, but you could also do 1/2 centimetre if you want to, approximately. So your aim here is just to have your sheet of clay even in thickness all the way around. So I'm going in different directions, as you can see here, very deliberately, because if I was to go in one direction, it's highly likely that it's going to kind of be a little bit corrugated. So just take your time here. You don't need a rush at all. What the cloth allows you to do as well is pick up your piece and just have a bit of a gander at how thick it is. If you do have creases in the bottom, just pull out. I would recommend just ironing this beforehand, but you know, I haven't, so you don't have to either. I'm quite close to these leaves at the back of me. This is my parents' house that I'm in at the moment. They have a sectioned off area where I can just be by myself, just in case I've got COVID, which I don't think I do. I had a test. So just continuing rolling and continually check the thickness. So the trouble a lot of people get into is they'll kind of create a little mound like that. You want the sheet, so that's what you're trying to achieve. So that's going well, but it's still much too thick. Might have a sip of my cappuccino that I made. It's actually not bad. So again, you're going to be cutting this into the shape that you actually desire. So some of you might want to grab a dish that you actually like, the size that you actually like, and trace around that. The issue there is it's going to reduce about 20% in the kiln once the moisture's been wicked away from it. So just keep that in mind when you're doing any of this sort of thing. That whatever you're making, it will reduce in size. So this is not so important with things that we're making now, because they can kind of be any size. But when you're looking at making like a mug or a candle holder, which we are going to do a candle holder tutorial, ISOCLAYTION, which will be fun times. You do want to keep that in mind, just the 20% shrinkage, because that is going to be a big deal. I mean, I made some candle holders the other day, 10 of them. They were really lovely. And yeah, I made them too small for the Black Blaze Sydney candles to fit in, which is a bit grim. They'll fit other candles though, but you know, that's clay, isn't it? Trial and error. So just keep on checking again the width, so I can still go thinner here. You never want to go too thin. Really, if you were like a couple of millimeters or something, it's going to be too thin for what you're trying to do, especially if you want to incorporate any decoration into your piece. So yeah, just really keep that in mind. And you can see I'm easing off at the edges. If I didn't ease off the weight at the edges, it's going to drop down and it's not going to allow me the thickness, consistency all the way through. How is everyone going in the world at the mo? I know there are a lot of people that do these tutorials all around the world actually, which is kind of cool, very unexpected. So I'm actually in Adelaide at the moment to see my fam. My sister did the walk from the top to the bottom of New Zealand, and she was, I think, a couple of days, took her months obviously, a couple of days shy of the finish line, and COVID happened, so she had to come back to South Australia, which she doesn't come to SA much, so I get to see her, which will be amazing. And I'm actually going to be doing the travelling mud workshops as well. So travelling mud is just exactly that. We're going to be doing some workshops. Meg is doing the workshops back in Byron whilst I'm away, and I'm doing travelling mud at Summertown Studio in Adelaide, Seaside Adelaide, which will be great. Very much overdue. So you can see here that I've got, I mean, that's quite a nice shape if I wanted to keep that. I don't, but I could. So you can see there's quite a good consistency of thickness across there. I'm pretty happy with that width. So now I'm going to look at, okay, well, I kind of want to do a little circular plate to begin with. So again, if you want a tracing tool, go for it, but you do not have to have a tracing tool because it can be quite nice just to do it an organic shape. So just using your needle to perfect that. Again, yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is certainly to learn how to make shapes, of course, but it's kind of a little meditation practice of your ability to kind of let go of expectation and what you are wanting. Instead, just kind of seeing how it turns out. You can never truly know how the clay is going to react in the kiln. I mean, that's certainly not completely circular, but I don't really care. You can see that, it's a little bit wonky. Love a wonky shape. So now you can also see that I have some rough edges around here. So those edges are going to accentuate in the kiln as well, unless I do something about it. Okay, so I think the police are at the door to check if I'm actually quarantining. So be right back. 2 seconds. Back again. So that was the police. How's the timing? Haven't done one of these yet, and this is the time that they come, bless their socks. They are really nice, but yeah, not the best timing. So I've got this as well, this little water dish. So you can have a spray bottle or a water dish. I just put a bit of water on my fingers and just use that to just nurture the edges, the sharp edges out of the shape. Any sharp sections of the clay are going to accentuate in the kiln. The reason why I don't apply water directly onto the clay, spray it, is because it's hard to remove water. It's hard to control exactly how much you're putting on when you're not placing it on your hands. Yeah, so this shape is a bit wonky, but I'm okay with that. That section off. Now you do want to pick it up, peel it off, place it back down to do the same with the bottom edge. And everyone that's actually rolled out their clay, their big ball of clay, into a larger sheet, you can obviously just cut out a bunch of shapes in that. These shapes will be your plates or your little dishes. You can do oval dishes, you can do kind of rectangular, you can do bloody whatever shape you want. That's the beauty of it. It's yours. Okay. Pick that up, have a look at it, and just go around my shape once more. And this will reveal little sections that you might not want in there, so you can kind of do a little extra cutting if you want to. And then if you are doing cutting, then you just do have to do the old smooth out again. So one really effective way that I kind of create the lip on shapes is I have a bit of water on my fingers and I create a V here, and then I use that to not pinch but just quite literally go around my shape like this, and that allows me to have consistency with the lip or rim, whatever you want to call it. So I am relatively happy with that. Now what I'm going to do, I just want to create like a little plate-like look around the edge. So I'm actually going to be using this shape here, and I'm going to be using this section of this shape just to press into my tiny little plate here. Now I want to press not all the way through, of course, but part way down, because I do want it to be visible once the glaze is on the shape. So I might do it, how far in do I want to go? Probably about that far. I'm placing my fingers here very deliberately because that is going to allow me to create consistency all the way around with how far in I'm pressing this. So let's go. Again, just take your time with this. You can also use your needle as well to press into the shape. And the beauty of this is you can just spin this around really easily. So you can see, or you may or may not be able to see, I'll show you in a tick, the uneven little grooves that I'm putting in this shape. So you can see there I've created some cute little grooves. I think they're cute anyway. And then what I want to do is I want to pop this to one side because it's not solid enough for me to really start to flute up the edges, but I do want to flute up the edges soon, just so I can make it a bit more kind of plate, dish, whatever you want to call it like. So I'm going to pop this just to one side for a tick, and then I'm going to make some more little mini ones, so even smaller than that. So these can be used as, you know, to put on like a grazing board as well. They don't have to just be trinket dishes. They can be used for whatever you want. They can also be placed on the wall. You know, some people love to kind of put decorative plates on the wall, which actually looks really cool, arranged with some other bits and pieces. Have a little coffee break. Just again applying the pressure. You guys are probably smart and you did like a big one so you can cut them all out of there, but I did not. So I'm just going to keep on demoing this. Keeping an eye on the thickness all the way around. Ish. Not perfect. Nothing's perfect, but it's all right. Cool. So I want to do this one a little bit more kind of oval. And I'm still making them relatively small, just because I want them that way. So repeating what we did before with the water around the edges, just to nurture out those edges. So you don't have to pick this up to do it. You can keep it on your sheet, but I like to pick it up because it allows me to get underneath as well. Oh, this is really nice. Feels great. Okay, so that's a little kind of organic shape that I have at the moment, and I mean I could leave that as is if I wanted to, because that's a really nice dish shape. So let's just keep in mind as well that, I mean, you may be going with a different glaze, but we do the Cone 6 white speckle. So all that means is Cone 6 is just the temperature that the glaze is fired at. So it comes up with like a little speckle just like this here. That's the glaze that we use, and can send you as well in the glaze kits or the other toolkits that you can purchase. So if you are grabbing those and using those, just remember that you have to do your first firing before you can apply any glaze. So you've got your biscuit firing, which is your initial firing, and then once your pieces come back from bisque, then you are able to apply your glaze. So there are glaze instructions on the bottle as well. It's just 3 coats and you'll get a really beautiful beautiful finish on your piece. So just remember that whatever this looks like now, is going to look different at the end, very different. It's going to warp in shape slightly, it's going to be slightly smaller, it's going to look a little bit different, and it's going to look fabulous, trust me. But if you're keeping something quite simple, that can be really beautiful because you can just apply the glaze onto a section of your plate and it really brings it to life. So just keep that in mind. You don't need to overcomplicate the pizza if you don't want to. All right, what am I going to do with this one? Perhaps I'll use this needle to place in my little grooves. All the way around, take your time. When you're doing this as well, you need to make sure that you're putting your needle on an angle as you're going around, so you're actually following the width of the outside as opposed to how close together the ends of these little decorations will be. So these will be quite close, and then these will be fanned out, so further apart as you're following the plate or the dish along. So just to keep in mind as you're going. So we've also got a list of kiln locations on the website. I think it's under kiln locations. That'd make sense. And you can source your closest kiln from anywhere around Australia. We by no means have every kiln on there. If you know of a kiln that we do not, please let us know. Then what you can do is you can just contact your kiln operator, kilnster, and book it in. Book your shapes in for their first firing. They do need to dry out completely, so be bone dry before they can go into the kiln. If they're not bone dry, they'll crack, and it will be a grim time for the beautiful pieces that you will have made. That's a bit of fun. Can you see that? Quite cute. Pop that to one side as well. Check how the other one's faring. It's still not solidified enough for me to be able to pull up the sides quite like I want to. So I'm gonna make another shape. Why not? I'm just gonna do a little guy. The smaller the pieces that you're rolling out, the more delicate you need to be with your rolling out and how much pressure you're putting on the clay. Just so you can make sure, and again, you don't need to really go at it, you can just be really quite gentle. Just trimming off the little cracked sections that I don't want into the shape that I'm happy with, and peeling off the clay that I no longer need, putting that to one side. That looks kind of like an egg. So I'm going to take that section off. This is going to be a tiny plate, but that's quite sweet. These are great for the bathroom as well, for your rings. They just look really beautiful next to the basin. When you're doing the edges, just continually check them. Be mindful that you don't have any cracks in your clay. Any cracks that kind of present themselves will accentuate during the drying process, and it's not going to be good for your plate, let me tell you. Also, if you live anywhere not Byron or South Australia and you want mud, traveling mud to come up your way, just get in touch if you've got any kind of cool locations that we could do it at. Just let me know. All right, I think I'm going to do just actually quite a similar design that I did for that one just there, but just a bit more spaced apart. Remembering to press it in far enough so you are actually getting the design pressed in there. Now you could be using any of your tools at the moment to do any decorations you want. There are no wrong decorations. I just really have wanted some of these plates for a while now, so thought, what better time than in quarantine? Cute little shape there. Okay, so now I've got my 3 shapes. I'll grab my board back. Once again, you can do many of these, but as you can see, they're going to be quite cute once they're done, hopefully. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to pull up the sides of these. You don't have to do that if you want your plates to be relatively flat. Great, you're finished. You can put them in out of the elements inside. The reason you want to put everything inside and out of the elements to dry is so they don't crack. So for example, if I had wind coming from one direction on my piece, it's going to dry out quicker than another section of my piece, and that creates, especially because the clay constricts when it's drying, it creates a pressure and it cracks. So just keep that in mind. Dry them always out of the elements. So again, there's no real right way of doing this. You can have it fluted, like a little fluted edge if you want to. I'm just going to kind of see, I'm putting my thumbs here at the base of these lines that I've created, and then I'm just pulling it up like that. You can pull it up as much or as little as you want. All the way around. And if it's too wet, if the clay's too wet, it's not going to maintain the shape that you're creating. It might just kind of flop back down again. Don't worry, just leave it for a little bit longer, 10-15 minutes. More moisture will wick away from it, and then you'll be good to go. just going to do it to all of them because I really love the kind of fluted look, creating little plates, tiny little plates, super cute. You can see there that I've fluted those edges up. Same with this little guy here. All of that is fluted up. It's not perfect, very deliberately. And then last but not least, this little guy here. When you're doing this, be mindful not to press too hard on the patterns that you've just created as well. I'm gonna make this one a little bit more fluted, I think. So I've made that one a little bit more fluted because why not? If they droop down, if they drop down at all, then all you need to do is again just wait a little bit of time and then you'll be good to start again. So you can see these plates here. Very cool. You can do this on a grander scale, so larger for platters, anything like that, but there you have it. Your tiny little quarantine ring dishes or whatever dishes you want them to be. How exciting. Love. So if you've got any ideas of what you want me to make, please let me know and I'll do an ISOCLAYTION on them. This one I'm going to upload hopefully today, which will be exciting. And yes, just check on the website as well, or Instagram, MUD.clayplay. That's where we have all our updates on when new tutorials are coming out or traveling mud and where we're going to be. So yeah, just hit us up on there. If you've got any questions, let me know. There is a big FAQ, frequently asked questions section on the website, so that answers a million of your questions that you might have. Please do let me know though if there's anything that isn't answered. And yeah, I'll get onto it for you. I'll upload the answer. Once again, at MUD.clayplay or www.MUD.clayplay.com. Please send me the shapes that you make or tag me in a story or anything. I just love seeing the language of your hands. So yeah. That's us, and I will be doing a number more whilst I'm here for 2 weeks. So thanks heaps for doing it and see you soon. Bye.